speaking on memorable mistakes. Memorable mistakes, Kira Conlon.
Ladies and gentlemen, Toastmasters and friends, I was 19 years old when I had my first international experience doing volunteer work in Costa Rica. I was an adventurous, pretty young woman, not unlike now, but I had no formal training in Spanish. So imagine me on a mountain in the hot sun, scratching at a mosquito bite that is driving me crazy. When our foreman, Ramon, asks me what's wrong, I do my best to tell him. I know that the word for bug bite is in pico, and the verb for itch is picar. So, having been there 6 weeks, I feel confident, and I put the pieces together. Then I proudly announce in Spanish, "My penis itches." Well, not really what I was going for. This was one of my most memorable mistakes in another language, certainly not my only one. Language errors can be of 3 types: wrong grammar, wrong words, and wrong pronunciation. I'm going to share with you today more of what I call oops moments, and hopefully encourage you to make some of them yourselves. Now, since we started with grammar, let's continue with that. I teach English, and I love doing so. And one of my favorite things to do is to teach my students how to laugh at themselves. Because if they can't make mistakes, they're not going to learn. Am I right? I know I'm right. So how do I do that, you might wonder? Well, by laughing at them, of course. So one of my favorite moments happened in class last year. My students were talking about daily routines. They were interviewing a partner and relaying their partner's answers. These weren't just any students, they were Korean students. Students from a culture where looking good in public is a must. So here's Shy Jin-young. He stands up at his seat so everybody can hear him, takes a breath and says, "Every morning he washes my body." Whoops. Now, if I were a nice teacher, I wouldn't have corrected him in front of everyone, but I'm not so nice. So I told him and the entire class that it's important to correct all the related pronouns in a sentence. Otherwise, you can give the wrong idea. Poor innocent Jun-young. So now that we've looked at grammar, let's move on to words. Now, opportunities to learn are everywhere, including at home. My husband is French, and though I love him, his English is far from perfect, huh? Now, when we started to see each other, I was actually in Canada, and he was here in Amsterdam. I had to make a trip to Ottawa. It's 4 hours return on bus, and I was shocked at the cost of the bus ticket. $100, or $100 as we say. Trying to be supportive, and surprised himself, he echoed back to me, "You're kidding, $100? Good try, baby." If he were there in front of me at that time, I likely would have squeezed his cheeks and said, "Oh, you're so cute." And if he were here now, he'd probably kill me. Something else he says is, "Oh my goodness," instead of "oh my goodness," as grannies do, or "oh my God," as the rest of the world does. But I thought it was too adorable to correct, until his mother, who speaks no English, corrected him out of the blue. I still don't know how. But I had to side with her because she was right. Oops, my bad. Now, my next example is a combination of wrong words and wrong pronunciation, and comes from my friend Debbie, who's from Spain. We met shortly after I arrived here in Amsterdam because her boyfriend plays football with my husband. But I never got around to asking how she and Carlos had met until a few weeks ago. We were sitting along the football pitch, supporting our men as good football wives should, rum cocktail in hand, when I finally popped the question. I giggled a little when she told me that they met in a club, because most people think that never really happens. But I nearly spit out my delicious drink when she told me what happened next. Ever so calmly, she said, "We met at a club, and then we gave each other massages." Really? I quickly figured out that she meant they sent each other messages. But we still spent 20 minutes laughing at her fumble and missing the championship goal in the process. Double oops. Don't tell the boys. Now, I often wonder about etymology. Who comes up with these words and why they don't consider these error possibilities? There are two other words which I never would have expected to explain, equally similar in appearance but drastically different in meaning. But nonetheless, at a staff dinner in Korea, seafood on the table, I told the school's vice principal that the octopus arms that he was eating are called tentacles. He thought he'd be smart and repeat the word back. But what he said instead was close, but not quite right. Fortunately, he was too drunk to be embarrassed. Oops, ignored in this case. Luckily, none of these errors caused problems for those involved. There was no need for embarrassment, at least none that would last, and they were great learning moments. I teach English, but that doesn't mean I'm perfect in other languages. I correct my own mother even, and she's a native speaker. We laugh all the time. If you're going to learn another language, you're going to make mistakes, with grammar, with words, and with pronunciation. There's no need to shy away from it. Embrace them. Never regret the risk you take, because if nothing else, they leave you with good stories. Thank you.